All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode. We have been talking about in recent podcasts manhood, womanhood, which really, at least I did this, I guess, on the podcast. We mainly kind of drilled into, and that led us into talking about husband and wife
Yeah.
and roles and things like that, which obviously um, go out into society.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but did our best there to offer some macro thoughts and our thoughts on manhood, womanhood, and things of that nature. Obviously, I'm sure there's big books out there on it and stuff like that.
Always. Yeah.
We kind of probably just touched the macro surface there, but that led us into really thinking about last week the concept of singleness,
Yeah.
because it just kind of begs the whole question when you're talking a lot about marriage, when you're talking a lot about particularly husbands, wives, manhood, womanhood in that context. It begs the whole question of like, well, you talked a lot about on those episodes how they complement each other, how they're kind of these two puzzle pieces that fit together
Yeah.
as God designed, but I'm single. So like what do I think about? So
Mm.
that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll lead off with this question. I'll throw it to you right away.
Yeah.
Um, we talked a lot about being married and this sorts of things, the beauty of all that, the beauty of the family design. Does that mean or imply that being single is bad, inherently bad? Being single is inherently sinful, wrong. Um, that to be single is to be less than, to be inherently less than in society, inherently less than as a person, something to be ashamed of,
Mm.
um, that sort of thing. You can
Thoughts. Yeah.
answer and go.
Quick answer. No. It's not to be incomplete. Although, however, because those things that you just said are out there, people really tend to feel that. It seems that even culturally, certain cultures can kind of push that thought and that view on people. And it seems that single people are not like losing their minds to feel that way. It seems personally you can start thinking and feeling that way. A culture can kind of help you put gas on that fire, thinking and feeling that way. So we're saying, and the Bible says, no, you are not incomplete. I think just like the mission of being a woman and a man has a different image bearing mission. I think marriage is a mission and singleness is a mission. And obviously, Paul said that Jesus had a singleness. So those are real clear missions. Yeah.
Easy
So,
answer.
easy answer, no. You are not
Um,
incomplete. You are complete, but you probably do have to wrestle with certain cultures, certain places, even certain families, and in your personal life of being like, am I missing? And I think this is good. I start thinking about this. I think if you dig into being incomplete, uh, there's a real reason why. It's because we are. And so you can almost attach anything to it. So, oh, I'm incomplete because I'm not married. I'm incomplete because I don't have this job. I'm incomplete because I don't have these things in my life. I mean, we are always going to feel incomplete on this side of glory.
mm,
So, what's missing in all of us is glory. What's missing in all of us is the completeness of a final and full realized eternal life,
mhm,
home with God, new heavens, new earth, everything the way it's supposed to be. So it's very real that you're going to feel incomplete.
mhm,
What you assign as the cause of it is up for grabs.
mhm,
If you recognize as a Christian, you are always going to be incomplete. It helps you deal with your sense of whatever that is, whether it's in your marriage or with your children or with your job. Yeah, of course, you're incomplete.
mhm. Jesus was single,
Hmm.
so not sinful.
Yeah.
That's just totally out of the question. So any thought of a single person going like, is this wrong? Is this bad? Is this like unrighteous? Am I, made more unworthy before God because I'm single? Inherently, no. Jesus was single,
Yeah.
and perfectly righteous. And then also to even impact, I think people could go, oh, no, I'm not less valuable, but like I just don't have as much to contribute to the world or society. Jesus was single and is the savior of the world. So greatest impact ever.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then you got Paul,
yeah, and then you've
right?
got
The
Paul,
greatest man that ever lived outside of Jesus. Yeah.
more prolific writer of the
Uh-huh.
New Testament than any other author. Um, you know, so I think that people, singles, have to combat those thoughts
Yeah.
with like the obvious reality.
Mhm.
No, it's not sinful. No, it's not wrong. No, it's not inherently bad. No, it doesn't mean anything about like what God is doing in your life
Yeah,
regarding
mission,
mission,
purpose, having a purposeful, meaningful life. Yeah.
impact, legacy, things like that.
Mhm.
I do understand, the it's you know, at least especially in the Christian world, and maybe you could say society in general, it's definitely more the exception. Not like a crazy rare exception, but I can understand being single, going, most people around me are married, most people in the church are married.
Yeah.
I'm not, and so
Yeah.
it feels so otherworldly in that regard.
And what's my place? Yeah.
But I also know that being married, there's like an infinite list of things that we can latch on to that make us feel less than,
Right.
and so it's like that's a part of the list.
It
So
is.
even when you check that off and you get married,
Yeah.
it's always the fool's errand that we think, if I could just check this box, I'll feel complete. You won't,
Yeah.
one of my buddies says that like I walk around at victim weight. I weigh like 185 and I'm victim weight. Like I'm a perfect weight class to be a victim on the street. And it's true. I'm 5'9",
Uh,
like I'm heavier than probably I should be,
uh-huh.
but I'm like victim height,
Right,
It's like
right, right.
everyone I meet, I look up to,
Right.
literally,
Uh-huh.
physically. Um, so it's like that's an insecurity that I walk around with,
Right.
and makes me feel like, oh, like
Uh-huh.
the point is there's a laundry list of like things we always feel
Yeah.
less than.
Mhm.
Marriage being one of them. And the reason I bring up the height is because, yeah, like I'm an exception to the rule of the average height of a guy and
Right.
whatever.
Uh-huh.
We always have those, like, I'm an exception to this rule.
Right.
I'm exception to this norm, and we have to deal with that.
Mhm.
Okay, so that leads us into the reality of contentment. So read this scripture real quick, and
Yeah.
then we'll talk about contentment and desire. So Paul in 1 Corinthians addresses this whole reality of singleness and marriage. He says, only let each person lead the life that the Lord has assigned to him and to which God has called him. This is in this whole context of, he's talking about other things as well, but he makes it very clear, acknowledge the calling that you have, at least in this moment.
Yeah.
And it could be a lifetime.
Yeah.
And he talks about being married has its own worldly troubles
Mhm.
and its own burdens that it comes with, that if you're single, you don't have those worldly troubles and those burdens. But at the end of the day, he goes, recognize this calling you have. And again, we could say maybe it's this calling for today.
Yeah.
The calling of an engaged man is still, he's single.
Right. Right.
The Bible, the main categories are single or married.
Yeah.
Obviously the Bible
Right.
does recognize betrothed in this kind of engagement period.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, or this calling that he's saying you could have forever, like he knew my calling in life is to be single. So the question is, um, h- how do, and I'll throw this to you, how do people think about contentment being single? But also I want to add to that, which I mentioned off camera, uh, also desire. And is contentment the same as desiring to be married?
Yeah,
Can you
that's a good.
desire, even like aggressively, strongly desire to be
Mhm.
married and still be content? Or is contentment, does that mean I am content and I have no desire to get married? And that's what
I think
contentment
it
is.
starts with what you said at the beginning, where God has his purposes and his places and his missions for us. And I do think if you kind of lean into that or dig into that a little bit more, you'll find some realities of God being in control of your life and shepherding your life that will give you some real contentment. Like, okay, uh, He is the invisible hand leading my life, and he is shepherding me all the days of my life, as Jacob said. Um, and Jacob lived a pretty wonky life, uh, and still is saying that him up to this point is God has been shepherding him through all of it. So I think there's a real security and a real sense of God's sovereignty and God being with you and for you and has good for you and plans for you that you can dig into that and find some real contentment and some real solidness to whatever your life situation is. And I would say that's that undergirding baseline contentment that you're going to constantly need to kind of revisit and tap into throughout the rest of your life, depending on how content or discontent you are. So when you are discontent, it seems like God is calling us to, as Paul would say, get content.
Mhm.
Uh, dig into who God is and his grace for you and the realities of life. Like he is shepherding you, he has you, he's leading you, he's taking care of you, he's put you in this place, he has a mission for you. Okay, okay. Then you start getting content. But at the same time, like we were just talking about, the desire for things, that's a whole other track you go on. So you're going to have one track of learning to be content. Paul says, I've learned to be content in all these different situations. And the other is you can have these desires, and it seems that the role of those desires is to pour them out to the Lord and even take initiative to seek them and
Mhm.
fulfill them. Classic example, just in case people are wondering, what are you talking about? Um, God tells us in the scripture, Paul tells us in the scripture, he who desires, aspires to be a leader in the church. That's a good thing. That's a great thing.
Mhm.
Seek it.
Mhm.
That's part of the inward call. And then the
Mhm.
church gives you an outward call and you get trained and all that kind of stuff. And I think at the same time, if you aspire to be married, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
At the same time, learning to be content where God has you. So those are my first thoughts.
Mhm. I think on that note of the calling, just so I don't forget to say this, but I think that whether the church has done this in teaching or maybe we just do it naturally, but when we talk about the calling of singleness, the gift of singleness, the joke that's like the gift I don't want from God,
Right. It's
that
like
sort of
that
thing.
call to Africa to be a missionary.
I think
Yeah.
we kind of we confuse it, we overthink it, maybe we over spiritualize it, if you will, where it's like we think what that means is you got to pray and hear the Lord
Yeah.
speak to you from heaven in some way to go, I am calling you to singleness. As opposed to what Paul is more saying in 1 Corinthians 7, which is really kind of recognizing your condition you're in.
Yeah.
Like if you read that text, he talks about like, are you circumcised? Don't seek uncircumcision. Are you not circumcised? Don't seek, So
Uh-huh.
he's going like recognize the condition you're in
Yeah.
and be content in that. Um, and so I think that we have to, I think that number one, to spare singles the crazy kind of
Yeah.
psychotic thinking that can happen in us where we're like, I don't know, is God calling me to singleness or not?
And
It's
looking
like,
for some sign.
yeah, and looking for a sign. It's
Mhm.
like there's other ways to recognize maybe if that's like your calling right now, or could be
Yeah.
your calling forever,
Yeah.
and it's not like a mysterious message from God. Um, so maybe we can circle back to that. But
Yeah.
contentment versus desire, my thoughts is I think that another thing we do there that where we confuse singles is we conflate those two things.
Yeah.
Where if someone goes, I really, really just want to get married, then we can in the church make them feel like you're not content.
Right.
Be content,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But no, it's like I know that around lunchtime I'm gonna get really, really hungry, but that doesn't mean that I'm not content. Like I could skip lunch and like maintain a sense of contentment in life in my day. But I am very hungry and I know that I'm called and want to eat and I aspire to eat
Mhm.
lunch. I think that and I've seen this, I've experienced this in talking to single people that I've talked to single people who really want to get married. I can look back to my own life where honestly, like that's what I wanted going into
Mhm.
late high school. It was like, I want to get married,
Mhm.
that's just, I want to get married. I want to have kids. That's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Um, I know of single people who have that great desire and yet like have a sense of contentment. It's not the fact that they're single is not driving them off the rails where they're like, I've got to go to the bar tonight, all night,
Right.
find something at the bottom of the, you know,
Yeah.
bottle.
Uh-huh.
They're content. They really
Mhm.
want to get married. They're content. I've talked to single people who like, they're like, if it happens, it happens. And they're content. And the difference there is I'm like, both of you are living and fighting for a contentment in life
Mhm.
and seem to be living in a sense of contentment.
Mhm.
But one of you seems to have
Yeah.
a calling to get married. And
Uh-huh.
what I mean by that is like what you said, an aspiration,
Aspiration, yeah.
and it will not go away. You
Yep.
didn't put it there, you can't get rid of it. One of you seems to be content with very little to no aspiration to get married. Um, and so that's where I go. Like, if I had to guess, you seem to maybe have this gift that we call singleness,
Mhm.
at least right now and so
At
far.
this
And
season,
right in
yeah.
this season, like, you just don't really have much aspiration,
Yep.
much intention, much desire, motivation to find a wife or a husband. You seem to have a ton of energy and motivation to do that. So I think that that's helpful probably for singles to know. Like, you can be content and have incredible drive to get married. Those are not like the same thing.
Yeah.
And so don't beat yourself up if you're like, I really want to get married, but I'm fighting. But oh no, I got to be. No, you can be content with strong desire.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so let's go into, for time's sake, maybe kind of wade into the waters of dating.
Yeah.
Unless you have other thoughts, you can cut me off. But like
No, that's
dating, yeah,
good.
we wrote on the board dating, and
Mhm.
so let's say you're single,
Yeah.
you really want to get married. Let's maybe speak to men first,
Yeah.
and whether you're 19, man, there's so many different roads we could go
Oh,
down, which is
man. No,
like,
no, I'm
I think
thinking
we'll get into this maybe in another episode
yeah.
just regarding like if you're in college or whatever. But
Yeah.
let's just say you're a man,
Yeah.
you're single, whether you're 19 or you're 35 or you're 42,
Yeah.
you know, never been married, whatever. Tips,
Yeah.
tricks.
Tricks.
How do you trick a woman into
Yes.
no? Yeah, how should they be thinking
Yeah.
macro level, little
Yeah.
practical level, like of, hey, you want to get married, here's the path forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
So
single.
I could tell you some of the things. I won't say all the things I've said to my boys, but I said, listen, um, if you find yourself uh, liking somebody, uh, go act on it.
Hmm.
Go absolutely act on it. So in college, in high school, I was just saying, hey, have lots of friends. Have lots of friends.
Hmm.
And have lots of friends. And if you are wanting to single someone out, I would say immediately talk to the Lord about it. Say, hey, I would like to single this person out and be a good friend to that person.
Hmm.
Um, and I say, like, more in the college realm, it's like take initiative. I think over and over again, I think what I would encourage guys to do is over initiate. If you are that aspiration, you want to get married, initiate, initiate, initiate
Hmm.
over and over and over again. And be willing to be like turned down, be willing to like,
Hmm.
quote, fail. I think today, everything is like self protection.
Hmm.
Everything's about protecting your feelings and protecting rejection and protecting everybody. And so everybody's more passive, and we're all, I think that seeing the kids today are all like looking for signs and looking for safety. Does she like me? Well, you're never going to know, dude, till you
Hmm.
like take an initiative, go
Hmm.
talk to the person, initiate a conversation, initiate a friendship, initiate getting to know somebody. Uh, that's, I would say, guys, you need to like initiate, go
Hmm.
for it.
Hmm.
Go for it, go for it. Be the leader and uh almost be like, yeah, I'm going to be rejected and
Hmm.
it's okay. I'm going to be turned down and it's okay,
Right.
and they might not respond. That's okay.
Right.
And just keep going.
Yeah.
That's my initial thought.
Yeah, I totally agree. Initiate, right? I know that I'm sure if we had a lady on this podcast, they could elaborate more and probably give better detail to the aspect of like too aggressive
Mhm.
too much initiating, right?
Right.
Is this stalking, right?
Right, right.
Versus the opposite, right?
Uh-huh.
But I do think that there's not like a worry there. It's not like that's a fine line,
Right.
like and so by initiate, I think on the one hand you could have that passive kind of like it will just happen, I'll just have friends and then
Mhm.
one day I'll be marrying one of them.
Right, right.
That's not going to happen.
No.
And also, this is where I think like a woman, I think would totally agree to be like, well, also I don't even want to marry a guy like that who like it's kind of like I'm always wondering, does he like me?
Yeah.
Does he want to go on a date? Are we dating? No,
Mhm.
I would think that any woman would go, I want a leader who can
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah.
And that means like leading in terms of
Yeah.
communicating like, do you like me? Helping me, give me opportunity to explain that I like you,
Yeah.
that we're kind of entering into a more romantic relationship
Uh-huh.
versus just like pure friends, right?
Yeah.
And then where are we at in this relationship? Where are we going? That sort of thing. So I think that initiating as opposed to just like, oh, it'll just happen, like we'll just kind of go to parties together and hang out and
Yeah.
one day we'll be in love. Um, versus obviously like the over initiating, which is just like what you said, you're going to get rejected. And when you get
Yeah.
rejected, it's over,
Yeah.
you know? So you
Yeah.
can maybe still be friends and maybe something will
Right.
blossom later. It's not
Right.
that it's over, but it is over in terms of like,
Right.
you don't
But
need to.
I think it's clarity. I do think like in taking the initiative like
Hmm.
that and being clear and being willing to be turned down and
Hmm.
rejected also is very helpful for the woman.
Hmm.
Very helpful in like there's not a guessing game
Yeah, for sure.
even when you're dating that if you're just clear and you're willing to have those conversations and you're willing to even ask about reciprocation.
Hmm.
I think everyone is so afraid of rejection and not being safe
Right.
that I think you miss out. I think there's
Right.
a lot of friendships and a lot of unnecessary pain is avoided by the guy just saying, you know what, I'm just going to ask her out, or I'm just
Right.
going to I'm say, hey, do you want to do something? And just ask
Yeah.
and be okay with that.
I think not dwelling too long too. I think one thing
Yeah.
I see, which obviously I'm a little out of touch with like how 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds are doing this nowadays, I guess, but I think too not dwelling super long where it's like it's been 6 months that you've had your eye on this woman and
Mhm.
you've kind of like fallen in love with her and the
Mhm.
idea of her.
Mhm.
And so then when you do get rejected, it's like
Devastating.
upending,
Yeah.
because you had this like whole relationship with her in your
Yeah.
mind. But I think going like, no, like we're in this friend group and we've been hanging out and I really enjoy her. Um, and like I'm not gonna just sit on this for a few months and like fall in love with her in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, you wanna go get coffee, whatever
Yeah.
it is, right?
Yep.
We don't have time to get into probably a lot of those like practicals, but I think it's kind of some common sense stuff. Like if you're an
Absolutely.
adult out of the house, you have a car, like let's go get coffee. Let's, go get dinner. You want to go grab lunch. You want to go take a walk in the park, whatever it is,
Yeah.
something casual to be able to initiate. And that way, I think, if she's like, no, you go like, oh, okay. Like that's all right. I didn't dwell on this so long that that's totally devastating.
I think that's a really good
It does
point.
hurt. It's
Yeah.
not, I wish, like I wish
Yep.
she was maybe into me. But okay, all right, and like we'll be
And move
friends
on.
and move on. And maybe you don't know what the Lord has for you. In
Mhm.
6 months, maybe it like
She's like,
maybe
"Oh."
you're married by the end of the year.
Right.
I don't understand like,
Yeah.
women in that regard, but
Yeah.
I know that there's plenty of stories like that. But I
Yes.
do think not dwelling, initiate, take the lead. And then
Mhm.
obviously I think that over initiation could be like I asked Sarah out on Monday, she rejected me. I asked Tina on Tuesday, she rejected me. And now it's
Right,
like,
right.
dude, you got to find a whole new
Yeah, yeah, I'm
friend
about to
group,
say, if that's
right?
happening, you got yeah, something's gotta
Right.
change.
But yeah,
Uh-huh.
that initiating I think is
Yes.
key.
I think also too, just for everybody's sake, just to understand the dynamics too of what happens in the relationship. Someone what it was actually a campus minister said this to me way back when I was at college. He said, "Listen, Jeff, time plus trust equals emotional involvement for
Hmm.
someone.
Hmm.
So even as you're guys in one way, I'm talking to guys in one way, as you're leading and initiating and asking and and wanting to be friends. This is why it's so clear that
Mhm.
you need to really be initiating and
Mhm.
communicating where things are at because as you do spend time with someone and as trust starts to happen, one of you is going to be emotionally involved. And it
Mhm.
might be that you're not, and
Mhm.
she is. And for her sake, you need to be aware of that and not watch your time plus trust with that person.
Right.
So, in other words, you have a friend group, right? And you're spending time with a lot of different folks and then you like the fact that you can get attention in certain situations but you're really not interested in that person. Guys, you
Right.
need to watch
Right.
that.
Right.
Time plus trust is emotional involvement. She'll get emotionally involved
Yeah. And that's
and
probably
then you just hurt somebody.
a good practical way to even talk about the whole guarding our hearts, guarding their hearts. Okay, well, what
Mhm.
does that actually mean or look like practically? That could mean like guard time. Like if you're
Mhm.
getting a ton of personal time together,
Yep.
but you are not interested, like they may be, or vice versa.
Yes.
And even trust. Like if you find you're in this friendship, maybe with the opposite sex, that's like crazy high trust,
Yeah.
right? Which requires time,
Yep.
but you're not interested. Like you could be really not helping guard them
It's just
and
being
yourself.
it's just being a good friend.
Yeah.
And it's understanding how things work. And so if you're clear about your intentions, that helps that.
Hmm.
And then if you're clear about your intentions and you're not interested in that person, don't be spending all this time and trust with that person.
Hmm.
You're just
Hmm.
hurting them.
Yeah. I think this is a whole nother rabbit hole because we can kind of start to wrap this up just regarding, I think, even age. I
Mhm.
think that I've got a mountain of opinions regarding kind of our cultural system and how it has greatly, I think,
Oh, I want to hear those opinions, dude.
adversely affected all things marriage and dating and things like that,
Mhm.
particularly just like our system of move out when you're 18, go to college. Now it's kind of more like go to college, grad school,
Yeah.
and then maybe think about getting a job after. And it kind of prolongs adolescence, which has then pushed back. Like it's very normal culturally nowadays to be, 40 and be like, yeah, interested in getting married. There's a
Yeah.
popular podcaster. He's like 45 and people are like, do you want to get married? And he's like, yeah, I think I want to get married and have kids. And in my brain, I'm like, dude, you're 45 years old, like you're already past where like a lot of people used to just die like all the time.
Gosh.
So, so I think too, just my macro thought is like get married early. Like
Yeah,
don't
absolutely.
let anything in your life, and by that I mean like anything like college, nothing get in the way of like if you aspire to get married and you and another woman, obviously we're addressing men, like
Yeah.
want to get married, do not go like, well, we're freshmen in college. Like
I totally
who
agree, dude.
cares?
I
Like, what
totally
is
agree.
college? Like, who cares? Like,
Absolutely.
I think get married early, which means also that's going to mean you're going to have kids earlier. And I promise, as like a dad of young kids, you're way beyond me down the road.
Mhm.
Like, you're going to want to have grandkids when you're young.
Yep.
You're going to want to know the names of your great grandkids, and
Yes.
hold them like, um, and so that's it. We can go down that later. I also think I do want to say for singles who maybe like post college, because once you get out, college is such a like there's so many people, and when you're young, high school, once you kind of get out of that stage, it quickly is like, oh well, no longer. Now I'm just like working, and there's like
Mhm.
two coworkers. I'm only attracted to like half of one of them, kind of a thing. Like
Yeah.
the pool really dies out. I think you have to be aggressive
Yeah.
as a guy, and by aggressive, what I mean by that is like use every pathway available. If you want to
Mhm.
get married, use them.
Yep.
Like there is no like I know that online stuff and apps were really kind of shamed in the beginning,
Mhm.
but the reality is like it's just the internet. It's just another way to like be able to connect with someone
Mhm.
who God may have for you, like
Yeah.
in Colorado.
Right.
Just be a normal person using those
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
If you're a normal person using those, but also like beyond the online stuff for me, I told some of my good friends, I was like, if you know of any awesome girls
Yeah.
that you recommend. So I was like going like, I want your like kind of
Mhm.
you recommend them that you could like set me up on a date with or anything,
That's good.
let me know.
Yeah.
I had no like shame and I was like, I don't care. I'm not just gonna like wait for this to happen.
Right.
Let me know. Someone hook me up and
Mhm.
and then now I'm married to the woman that my friend hooked me up to. We
Oh,
got
wow.
4 kids and it's
Yeah.
awesome, right?
Yeah, that's
God,
great.
it was just totally the Lord using. So I think again, don't like let that aspiration get killed by like, well, I'm just waiting for it to happen. And I'm like, well, you work with one other person, you don't have this big friend group. Waco's kind of small,
Mm.
whatever it is. Be willing to be
Yeah.
like, don't be ashamed to say, like, I want to get married.
Absolutely.
So, community,
Yeah.
friends, family, help me.
Yeah.
You know, do you
Right.
know anyone
Right.
who
Right, right.
who is, I might be attracted to and is a
Yes.
good person?
Yes.
And if they're like, yes, I do, but they live in, northern Canada,
Uh-huh.
good news.
Yes.
Modern technology,
That's
it's a
right.
quick
That's
flight,
right.
it's not expensive.
Uh-huh.
It's figure it out,
Uh-huh.
right? So, I
That
cuz
is
I
a point. That is good about how the world is so shrunk in that way to
it's
where it's
yes.
so in other words, people tend to think today that there's less opportunities, but there's actually more connectedness.
You could marry
Yeah.
someone
Oh, people don't go
anywhere.
to these, don't go to this, do the bars or whatever the
Yeah.
ways have been, the venues that have been there before that people say are not available. I'm like, well, you got a whole other world available.
Way more available.
Yeah.
And you just have to not be ashamed of saying, I want to get married. So,
Yeah.
like, there's
And
these 3 different pathways I'm pursuing. Because I have talked to people who want to get married who don't utilize them.
yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're just undermining yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you think you're just going to, like, be on a jog and, like, it's just going to happen like a movie? Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
And or the job that you're working at where there's two employees
And which one of them happens
and
to
you
be
already
freaking awesome. Like,
right.
it's pretty doubtful.
I, oh
So
man.
be intentional in that
Yes.
regard. I think that's probably enough for dating. I think we can maybe do another episode, maybe a little bit, and like get into some of the age,
I
cultural,
definitely want to do
all
that.
that kind of
Yes,
stuff. Because
let's
I
do
I
that.
think it's massive and I think it's important. And I think that a lot of where our culture has gone makes, and the church isn't really talking about this at all.
Yeah.
I think where our culture has gone and the system we are raised in is making marriage and having kids more and more difficult,
Yeah.
and I think we need to like break people's minds free
Mm.
of a lot of these unnecessary binds that they have. Like,
Oh yeah.
I have to go to college first, and I got to da 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 da. No, no. There's a lot more important things that
Yeah,
the
let's
Bible
do that
talks
next
about.
week.
So we can go down that road, and then I think what we're gonna do in these episodes is maybe follow a progression of like, okay, now that you are engaged,
Mhm.
what now? How to think about engagement, premarital stuff.
Yep.
You're young, married, no kids. You're having kids. You're about to have kids, and just I think just doing some like prep work on that regard.
I think it'd be great.
And so anyway, we'll go that. So until next time, peace, y'all.